Former President Donald Trump is taking jabs at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, saying at a rally yesterday that Zelenskyy has been critical of him.
Look at the war in Ukraine, and I think it's something we have to have a quick discussion about because the president of Ukraine is in our country, and he's making little nasty aspersions toward your favorite president, me. It would have never happened if I were president, to start off with. A deal could have been made if we had a competent president instead of a president that egged it all on. And Biden and Kamala allowed this to happen by feeding Zelenskyy money and munitions like no country has ever seen.
Well, the comments come after Zelenskyy spoke of Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, in a recent interview, expressing doubt that the former president knows how to end the ongoing war against Russia. Zelenskyy is in Washington today, where he'll meet with lawmakers on Capitol Hill and President Biden at the White House. And I believe these are pictures from earlier today. You can see him with Chuck Schumer, as well as other lawmakers. He's also expected to meet separately with President Kamala Harris. So CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes is joining us now to talk a little bit more about this. So let's begin with those Ukraine comments from Trump. Trump called Zelenskyy the greatest salesman on earth this week. An apparent, criticism over just how much aid the U.S. has given to Ukraine. And certainly Zelenskyy has had some critical words, I think, for the Vance-Trump ticket, suggesting that J.D. Vance maybe study World War II and get a little bit of a better education. What is the likelihood that there's an opportunity for the Republican ticket to meet with the Ukrainian leader? Because I thought that was actually on the schedule.
Right. And you were right, because earlier this week, former President Trump was saying that he was probably going to meet with Zelenskyy when he was here in the country. But now Trump campaign officials tell CBS News that is unlikely to happen. And they are pointing the finger at that New Yorker interview where Zelenskyy not only said that former President Trump doesn't really understand what it takes to win in Ukraine, but he also said that Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is too radical for the role. That certainly angered Republicans, as did the fact that Zelenskyy, while he was here in the U.S., toured an ammunition factory in Pennsylvania where they're making ammunition for the Ukrainians. He toured that factory with top Pennsylvania Democrats, and the House Speaker, who is a Republican, accused him of playing politics during election season. In fact, he called on Zelenskyy to fire his ambassador to the U.S., who had arranged the trip. So some bad blood between the Ukrainian president and top Republicans, at least some of them right now, although you did see in that video that you just played that the top Republican in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, who has long been a staunch ally of Ukraine, constantly calling for more funding, more support for Ukraine, he was there with Schumer. He's meeting with Zelenskyy today, but it doesn't sound like Zelenskyy is going to cross over to the other side of the Capitol to meet with the House Speaker.
I find it so interesting because I feel like Zelenskyy, over the period of time that this war has been raging, has been very careful about his wording, not wanting to cross anyone, Republican or Democrat. And so this is a bit of a departure.
It is, but, you can see why the Ukrainian president might be quite concerned about the possibility that in just about 40 days, the Democrats could be voted out of office and replacing them could become someone who has stated from the very beginning of this conflict that he, wasn't sure that the Ukrainians were in the right and that perhaps they should give some territory over to the Russians, and that none of this would have ever even happened if he were president. And so I think Zelenskyy knows that the support that he has been getting, with some fits and starts, but a tremendous amount of financial support, military support at the end of the day from the United States, could dry up if Donald Trump is in the Oval Office come January. And so now he's speaking a little more bluntly than he has in the past.
Well, we know that Zelenskyy is going to be meeting with President Biden, also with Vice President Harris. Vice President Harris, meantime, is apparently planning a trip to the border. And Who could forget that kind of consequential interview that she did with Lester Holt, where she was asked, have you been to the border? And her response didn't get the best reaction. You know, she said, I haven't been to Europe either. What do you know, what difference does it make? So can we talk about her visit to the border and why this would be important to the campaign?
We can, because it is her first visit to the border, believe it or not, Anne-Marie, since 2021. She has not been down there since that interview with Lester Holt. She is returning. She's going to be doing a campaign rally in Douglas, Arizona. She'll talk about border security. She'll talk about the fact that migrant crossings are actually way down the past few months after the Biden administration imposed this tough new asylum policy. And she's going to try to go on offense on this issue that has long been a challenge for her. And she's going to argue that it is actually former President Trump who is blocking progress when it comes to immigration because he convinced Republicans to scuttle a bipartisan deal on Capitol Hill. She's going to argue that he did that out of his own self-interest and not out of the interest of the nation and its challenging immigration situation. She trails Trump by double digits in polls when it comes to the handling of immigration. Let's see if she can turn that around or close the gap at all with this visit to Arizona.
Right. Nancy Cordes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.